A tank destroyer has one job: find a tank and kill it. But the way they did it changed every single year. We're starting in 1939, and we won't stop until we reach the final, massive designs of 1945. You won't believe how Japan and Italy tried to keep up. Let's begin with United States. M3 GMC, American ingenuity in North Africa. Mount a 75mm gun on a half-track and send it hunting. Fast, loud, and effective against Rommel's panzers in the Desert Campaign. M6 GMC, a 37mm gun bolted to the back of a Dodge truck. Lightning fast, with almost no protection, it relied entirely on speed and surprise to survive any engagement. Up next, T-40 M9, an ambitious attempt to mount a 3-inch gun on a medium tank chassis. It showed promise in testing, but never made it to mass production before better designs emerged. M10 Wolverine, America's workhorse tank destroyer. Built on the reliable Sherman chassis with an open-topped turret and high-velocity gun, over 6000 prowled the battlefields, hunting German armor. Up next, M18 Hellcat, the fastest armored vehicle of World War II, hitting 55 miles per hour. Thinly armored but lightning quick, it used hit-and-run tactics to dance around heavier German tanks. M36 Jackson. When the 76mm gun couldn't crack Panthers and Tigers, America answered with 90mm of fury. The Jackson finally gave crews the firepower to fight German heavy armor head-on. Next up, Germany, Third Reich. Panzerjäger 1. Desperation meets ingenuity. Mounting a captured Czech gun on an obsolete chassis, this improvised hunter gave German infantry their first real chance against enemy armor in the early war. Up next, Stug 3. From humble infantry support gun to legendary tank killer. More were built than any other German armoured vehicle, and its low profile made it a deadly ambush predator on every front. Up next, Dicker Max. Big Max lived up to its name. Originally designed to crack French bunkers, only 2 prototypes were built, but their massive 105mm guns terrorized Soviet armor on the Eastern Front. Next, Panzerjäger 35R. When you're fighting a world war, nothing goes to waste. French tanks captured in 1940 found new life as makeshift tank destroyers, serving in second-line units across occupied Europe. Sture Emil, Stubborn Emil, packed a colossal 128mm gun that could penetrate any Soviet tank from ridiculous distances. This experimental giant proved its worth, despite never entering mass production. Next, Marder 1, captured French tractors reborn as German tank hunters. The Marder 1 was born from necessity, mounting powerful anti-tank guns on whatever chassis could be scrounged from the occupation. Marder 2, built on the aging Panzer II chassis with a dangerously high profile. But what it lacked in protection, it made up for with a gun that could punch through Soviet armor. Marder 3, the best of the Marder family. Converting Czech 38T tanks into mobile gun platforms created one of the war's most successful tank destroyers, fielding the potent 75mm gun, Raupenschlepper Ost PAK. When the Russian mud swallowed everything else, this simple tracked tractor kept moving. Mounting a PAK gun on a vehicle designed for the Eastern Front's brutal conditions was crude but effective. Marder 3H. Learning from experience. Engineers moved the engine to the rear, giving crews better access to their weapon and slightly improved survivability. Small changes that saved lives on the battlefield. Nashorn, the Rhino, brought the legendary 88mm gun to the battlefield on a hybrid chassis. Long, lethal, and feared across the Eastern Front as a deadly long-range sniper. Up next, Ferdinand, a 65-ton monster that debuted at Kursk. Nearly invincible from the front, with armor up to 200mm thick, but plagued by overheating engines and vulnerability from the sides. Up next, Stug 4. When Stug 3 production couldn't keep up with demand, the proven Panzer IV chassis stepped in. Same low profile, same deadly capability, different foundation for defensive warfare. Jagdpanzer IV. Purpose-built to kill tanks. Low to the ground with thick frontal armor and a powerful gun, this was designed from the start as a dedicated tank hunter, not a conversion. Hetzer. Small, sloped, sneaky. The Hetzer was cheap to build and devastatingly effective in ambush. Its 60-degree frontal armor could bounce shells that would penetrate much larger vehicles. Then, Jagdpanther. Arguably perfection. Speed from the Panther chassis, devastating firepower from the 88mm gun, and armor that could shrug off most Allied shells. Many consider this the ultimate tank destroyer. SD KFZ 234-4. Speed meets firepower on 8 wheels. This armoured car mounted a 75mm gun and could race to threatened sectors faster than any tracked vehicle, providing rapid anti-tank response. SD KFZ 251-22. Take a standard half-track, bolt on a 75mm gun, and you've got battlefield mobility at the cost of protection. Fast, flexible, but vulnerable to anything that shot back. Jagdtiger, the heaviest armoured fighting vehicle to see combat at 75 tons. Its 128mm gun could destroy targets over 2 miles away, but mechanical failures kept most from reaching the battlefield. Waffenträger Ardelt, a late-war gamble that traded all armour for raw killing power. This weapon carrier was designed to be cheap and mobile, mounting heavy guns with nothing but faith protecting the crew. Next up, Soviet Union. SU-100Y, a rolling fortress mounting a 130mm naval gun. This bizarre prototype looked like a house on tracks, and only one saw combat. Massive, impractical, but absolutely terrifying. ZIS-30. Desperate times, desperate measures. A 57mm ZIS gun precariously mounted on a tiny tractor chassis. No armor, no protection, just a lethal glass cannon against advancing panzers. Su-76. Crews called it the bitch for its cramped, uncomfortable layout. But this light assault gun became the second most produced Soviet armored vehicle, providing crucial infantry support across the Eastern Front. Su-122, built for bunker busting. It discovered a brutal talent for tank killing. The 122mm howitzer's massive high-explosive shells could blow turrets clean off German panzers through sheer concussive force. Then Su-152, the Beast Killer, earned its nickname at Kursk. Its 152mm gun fired shells so devastating they could rip the turret off a Tiger tank, sending 10 tons of steel flying. Su-85, the Soviet answer to Tigers and Panthers. Mounting a high-velocity 85mm gun on proven chassis, it gave Red Army units the firepower needed to counter Germany's new heavy tanks. Now this is the ISU-122, built on the massive IS heavy tank chassis, combining thick armor with a powerful 122mm gun. This assault gun could both dish out punishment and take it in return. The next one, ISU-122S, an upgraded version with improved fire rate. The 122S could pump out shells faster than its predecessor, making it even more dangerous in the close-quarters fighting of Eastern Europe. Su-100, one of the war's finest tank destroyers. The 100mm gun could penetrate any German armor at combat ranges, and the design was so good, it served for decades after 1945. Let's move on to United Kingdom and Commonwealth. LP-2A 2-pounder Porty, Australian ingenuity in the desert. A 2-pounder gun mounted on a carrier for quick deployment and withdrawal. Simple, effective, and perfect for the mobile warfare of North Africa. Now this is the AEC Porty, a heavy truck carrying a 6-pounder anti-tank gun across the North African desert. Speed was survival when Rommel's panzers appeared on the horizon, and the AEC delivered both. Deacon, Britain's answer to mobile desert warfare. Mounting a 6-pounder on an armoured truck chassis created a fast-moving gun platform, perfect for the wide open spaces of North Africa. Churchill gun carrier, a massive, boxy vehicle mounting a 3-inch gun on the legendary Churchill chassis. Well protected but painfully slow, limiting its usefulness in offensive operations beyond the invasion beaches. Archer, brilliantly unconventional. The gun faced backward, allowing it to fire and immediately drive away without turning around. A perfect ambush vehicle for the hedgerows of Normandy and beyond. Then, Achilles, take an American M10, add Britain's legendary 17-pounder gun, and create something truly formidable. This Anglo-American hybrid could penetrate any German tank it encountered in northwest Europe. Next, Avenger. Based on the Cromwell cruiser tank with heavier armor and the powerful 17-pounder gun. Its open-topped turret was a weakness, but the firepower made it a respected tank hunter. Next on the list is Italy. Semovente L640. Tiny, light, and armed with a 47mm gun that struggled against anything heavier than a light tank. Brave crews fought in vehicles that were simply outclassed by Allied armor. Semovente 75-18 M13. Italy's most successful armored vehicle, inspired by the German Stug. In the North African desert, it proved surprisingly effective, giving Italian forces a genuine fighting chance against Allied armor. Semovente 75-18 M14. An improved chassis and engine kept this Semovente competitive in the brutal conditions of the North African campaign, where mechanical reliability often mattered more than armor thickness. Semovente 90-53. A fearsome long-range killer mounting a 90mm anti-aircraft gun. Excellent penetration and range, but carried so little ammunition that every shot had to count in combat. Semovente 75-34. A longer barrel meant better armor penetration. This upgrade finally gave Italian crews a fighting chance against the improved Allied tanks rolling through Sicily and up the Italian peninsula. Semovente 105-25. Nicknamed the Bassotto or Dachshund for its low-slung profile, this powerful assault gun with its 105mm gun proved formidable during the desperate fighting in Italy. Semovente 75-46. Built during the German occupation, with thick armor and a powerful gun, Italian crews used these vehicles to resist both German forces and the advancing Allies in the chaotic final years. Continuing with Japan, Hungary-1, Japan's first dedicated tank destroyer, mounting a 75mm field gun on a Chiha medium tank chassis. Limited production meant few ever saw combat in the Pacific theater. Ho-Ro, inspired by German assault guns, this heavy vehicle carried a massive 150mm howitzer on a medium tank hull. Devastating firepower, but only a handful were ever constructed. Honi 2. Armed with a 105mm howitzer, this variant focused on infantry support rather than tank hunting. Production numbers remained low as Japan's industrial capacity crumbled under Allied bombing. Honi 3. Japan's final attempt at a proper tank destroyer featured a fully enclosed fighting compartment. By the time it entered production, fuel shortages meant most never left the home islands. Next on the list is Hungary. Zrínyi 2, Hungary's assault gun, featured a wide, stable hull and a 105mm howitzer. It proved highly effective in defensive mountain warfare against Soviet forces advancing through the Carpathians. Let's move on to Romania. VDC R-35. French light tanks captured and modified with larger guns to face modern armor. These desperate conversions showed how smaller nations scraped together whatever they could for their defense. TACAM T-60, Romanian ingenuity, captured Soviet T-60 tanks fitted with captured Soviet 76mm guns. When you're caught between giants, you improvise with whatever weapons fall into your hands. Up next, TACAM R2. Combining Czech tank chassis with captured Soviet guns created Romania's most effective tank destroyer. A mongrel vehicle born of necessity that somehow worked better than expected in combat. And our last category is minor powers. T-13, Belgium's light tank destroyer, fought bravely during the 1940 invasion, despite paper-thin armor. Crews faced the Blitzkrieg in vehicles that offered courage but little protection from German guns. Skoda T-32, Yugoslavia's homegrown light tank destroyer, intended for reconnaissance. The 1941 invasion came before meaningful production began, leaving this promising design mostly on paper rather than battlefields. Up next, TKSD, a Polish tankette so tiny it could hide behind a mailbox, mounting a 37mm gun. Microscopic size made it hard to hit, but crews needed nerves of steel. Lafley W15 TCC. France's attempt at mobile anti-tank warfare. A lightly armoured truck mounting a 47mm gun. Speed and firepower couldn't compensate for vulnerability when the panzers rolled west. Now this is the BT-42, Finnish improvisation at its finest. A captured Soviet BT tank, crowned with a massive British howitzer in an oversized turret. Awkward, ungainly, but uniquely Finnish in character. Now this is the Sav M43, Sweden's assault gun for infantry support, combining neutrality with preparedness. Well designed and effective enough to remain in service decades after the war, proving Swedish engineering excellence. TVKV M43, Swedish neutrality required strong defences. This late-war tank destroyer featured excellent frontal armour and a high-velocity gun, ready to defend against whoever might threaten Swedish sovereignty.